Afternoon, everybody. It's afternoon here anyway. And a very hot afternoon, too. Liam says, painting's been killing me recently. I'm getting too stuck in my own head. How many of you are thinking that? Especially when you're trying to learn something, trying to figure it out and all that sort of stuff. Uh, but so let's talk about that. It's a common theme. I'm really pleased to have discussion points like that. Nancy D, thank you again for your loyal help in making these things happen. It's huge that you have this, that you keep coming with donations for us. So appreciated. The rest of you guys, anything else you can do, please keep it coming. We are not getting rich, I repeat, but we do need funds. Mr. Producer is still breaking even. I'm not sure he's doing anything better than breaking even. So let's look at that. Let's look at that rest of what Liam is saying. Painting has been killing me recently. I'm getting too stuck in my own head. Intellectually, I know to keep things flat or general and to think about the overarching. Boy, that idea of flat and general, you got to be, I'm hoping you're really sharp on those things, because there's a generalization that just gets you into all kinds of nothing, And but I think you, and you tend to think about the overarching impression of light, concerned with painting things as if they're emerging from the fog, et cetera, et cetera. So it's really nice to hear, by the way, that the guys are picking this up. And it was so fun in the intensive to see that you're actually getting this stuff by means of this online conversation. I'm mind blown in some levels at how much you guys came in with at that. You know who you are. And that wonderful London thing. Wonderful for me, I think for all of you guys. But it's all easier, Liam says, than said than done, and can be quite overwhelming, especially when you talk about painting all the horses at once. Even though the ideas on their own are quite simple, really, do you have any advice for getting out of your head, as it were? Not overthinking things. Staying calm and collected during painting. Man, you already said what you need to be doing. I'm going to give you some cheap advice about doing it. I'll throw some things at you. Is it a simple case of just doing it a lot? It's not that simple a case, but it is that. Wanting it badly enough will cause you to do things that require more discipline. If you want this badly enough, you will find ways to not overthink, to stay out of your head, to stay calm and collected. So, like doing it a lot, as Benson says, though, is really key. Just stay in the game. Just stay in the game. Stay calm. Stay calm. So where he says, yes, you're quoting Benson saying you haven't painted enough to know what flatness even is. Is there more I can say? I'm going to give it a shot, and at least you're going to hear some stuff, and other people will too. That it's certainly the kind of stuff that I found connected to this particular problem, it's a common to painters problem. It's especially painters who are impressionists, who are trying to paint truthfully what they see from life in front of them. It's a little bit of a different problem for people who are painting out of their head, but some of this stuff has crossover too. So I'm going to look at a painting. I'm going to look at this start at some point soon along the way here, and just talk about it. And I made a list of things. I'll go back and look at that list. But I want to just make a conversation before we put too much time into staring at this. Just a couple points. First of all, I want you to remember that being a student, primarily, trying to figure out painting, in other words, even though you spend your life trying to figure out painting, as Benson himself says, even though you're doing that, it changes once you get a certain amount of data in hand and you have good habits, okay? But when you stop being a sort of a formal student, and including an online formal student, the world is a little different. And I was this guy when I was at the Art Students League on the weekends. I would just paint my own pictures and I wouldn't think about what I was being told. When I was at the studio, I was trying to think and painting this to this and that to that and trying to do what I was told, or at least what I thought I was supposed to be doing. But that's a different place when you start getting on your own. So you should take time all the time and just to don't be thinking this out. Just paint and see what you got. Just have something over there, paint something, some slice of life thing, and just paint it and see what comes naturally to you. And it'll help you to figure out what you still need to be doing with your dog training, shall we say. Um, but but the second point I want to make to you before I start making a lot of points is you can't paint from ideas. You have to be out of your head, which means you have to be in your eyes. One day I was looking up in painting and I could tell it was behind my eyes. Gamble had already said something. He said, this guy, he doesn't see with his eyes, he sees with his ears what people have told him. Now that's true of the Christian faith. It's true of a lot of things. You know, you have this learned lumber in your head and you keep living in it instead of having original experiences. Do you see what I'm saying? So, but the right original experience for us, the Impressionist, is there it is. It's sitting in front of you. What are your eyes telling you? Including whether Paul's crazy about what he's telling you to do for a second or third. You know what I mean? So, but what I found is that when I started I first of all, I found that a bunch of the thinking I was doing was actually just worrying, just grinding away in there, worrying. And when I started just watching the canvas and thinking with what was in front of me, I began to be that painter that you have to be, which is you have to be out of your mind to be a painter. What does it mean? It means you have to be in your eyes. But then you have to be thinking, as Millet said of Rembrandt, and you have to be thinking, but you have to be thinking about the stuff that's in your eyes. So when you're looking out there as a field of red to pink to yellow to whatever, you're thinking about and you're watching those things in relation to each other, and you're drawing conclusions about, oh yeah, and then you go over to your canvas and you make adjustments based on what you saw with your eyes and what you discerned with your mind based on what you're seeing with your eyes. So keep there, okay? That's one thing that's very important. Just don't be in your ideas, be in your eyes. Let your ideas be a product of what you see with your eyes. That's where nature leads again. The other thing I see a lot of, though, is that students just paint too fast. You're too ambitious to get to the realism. And a lot of what I do, I was ambitious too, and I realized I could have some, and it was enough for this little dog to be happy, just to have this little bit of realism. You know what I mean? Just to have this little bit of it. And that's just when I talk about points and angles. When I get to a point, I make a point. You know. Or if you want to say about the realism, when there is great realism in the color relation. So when I'm doing a portrait, if the color relationships look good, I'm already in realism. But a lot of you don't get that. A lot of times you just are thinking what you mean by making the thing look like is making it look like Mary or something like that. And you don't mean the color relationships that make this ensemble in front of you. So, but you're moving too fast. You're getting ahead of yourself, a little ambitious. And the way you beat that is you keep on asking, what are you setting up for? Okay? What are you doing right now? So Bunker said at one point, you just come in and keep preparing the canvas. And one day, he said you just keep preparing the canvas, and one day you'll come in and find it finished. Okay. This is our world. It's the world of setting things up. So when you're looking at my painting here, this is a world where there's the big, you can see this, you can tell what this is. You can see it's a person standing at the edge of some stairs, presumably. There's two different rooms. This is the Guild's gallery, and then there's an upstairs gallery with that artificial light in it. This is natural light here, so I chose to paint down here, obviously. And I had one of the interns working in the gallery pose for us. She had a sort of a smock on. She must have been hanging pictures or something. And so she had this shirt-like thing on, and she just posed. She gave me one of the whites for us, and she was able to stand there for me for a couple hours while I did this, very kindly. And I've forgotten her name. I wish I hadn't. But you can see that what I've done here is everything that I put down is right to everything else I put down, as far as I can make it right up to this point. And that includes the power, the order of the edges, the edge relationships all through this whole thing are right to each other. The effect relationships are right. The color relationships, I should really start with that. The dark is dark, the lightest light. These things are fully established. The most chromatic notes are fully established. This painting is just listening. It's just setting up. It's just doing research. In a kind of a way, all the way through the painting, all you're doing is research. Some people would say you're doing, Benson would say you're doing design. Well, in another sense you are, but you're researching the data. Well, what data do you paint with? It's color data, right? It's location data. It's values data. It's, when I say color, I mean hue and chroma. But it's all those kinds of things. It's placement, it's size, it's all kinds of stuff. And so but every minute when you're putting these things down, you're checking to see if the field is in harmony. And this is a looking with your eyes. So whatever you put out there, you look with your eyes at your canvas and see it into harmony with whatever's there. And if you don't see it into harmony, work on it till it is. So, but this is hugely about what we're setting up. We're setting up a color scheme that's going to set up the effects, which is going to set up the drawing. You see that? And so you got to know where you are at every minute in this game. You can't. Yeah. So my point is, you have to know where you are. I made a bullet pointed things, and you'll see a list of those things in a second. But you need to know where you are and what you're doing there at every minute. You have to have clarity about the backstraggler. If you, no matter what you put down, if you put 3 notes down, you have to correct them to each other until they're right, until they're singing to each other, okay? Until they're right to each other. That's the first unity, is just 3 color notes. Get them right to each other. You know? One of them will be your darkest dark, one will be your lightest light, one will be your most chromatic. Get them right to each other. Get them approximately light in location. That's your least worry, though. But you need to, as you go along further, though, you need to have good clarity about what the backstraggler is. So if you have 3 spots, you have to know whether or not the backstraggler has a chroma problem. If it has a chroma problem, correct it until you get it, until it's not the chroma problem, until it's not the problem anymore. If it's a hue problem, correct it until it's not the problem, and be specific about it, and get it back into unity. This whole thing about getting it back into unity will save the day for you, Liam. Keep on. So do that horse really well. Always while you're watching the whole, everything is into this harmony of the whole. So no matter what 3 notes you put down before you ever do any drawing at all. But if you can avoid the ambition to make the realism, it's going to be huge. If you just stay out of that ambition, don't be ahead of yourself. Gamel at one point did say to me, and probably to all of us at different times, he said your hand, your skills with your hands are always behind your eyes. What your grasp exceeds your reach, I guess is the way they say that, right? And that's going to be true in every painting too. You don't let your hands start doing stuff that your brain hasn't got time for right now, that your brain isn't calling for, okay? But keep remembering, it's all being driven by the visual impression, by the unity of the visual impression that's sitting right there in front of you. You also have to make sure you maintain the idea that the canvas is sitting here. All you're doing is you're thinking. All the thinking you're doing is getting the data that you see over here to reproduce, to feel like it's that same set of data relationships. But you got to see it onto the canvas. You got to be constantly seeing it on the canvas. You also have to be, when you're correcting something, you're finding a backstraggler. You got to very specifically, as I've said many times before, you have to very specifically name it. So if the backstraggler in an area, if you know it's a values problem, you say that. If you know it's an edge problem, you specifically say that. And you tune it to the edges to get it right? That's the only thing that's going to make it right. You don't just go look over sight size and try to correct it over there. The only reason you even know it's a problem is because you saw the field and it wasn't right in the field, right? The only way you're going to write it is to the field. Now you need to get an idea about it. You have to get a picture of it as if it were already painted. And you need to attempt to make it, but your job is not to just make it again like sight size, but your job is to make it right to the field so it stops being the backstraggler. Now, why am I saying all this? Because at the end of the day, there shouldn't be any more thinking than that. You're just watching the big impression, you're putting on a few notes and making sure they maintain the unity of whatever relationship they've established so far. And if you do that, you're going to find yourself in really good shape. I will say one other thing, and that is that, and by the way, you can look at these bullet points. I don't like to have them in front of the picture. I'd rather have them on the side. But one of the things I want to say, just so you've heard it though, is that there is a need to isolate skills. For example, as I said, we're talking about basketball. You need to know how to bounce the ball without bouncing it off your leg. You know how to dribble the ball while you're running across the floor. All that stuff, right? You need to know how to do that. It's separate and different from shooting. So you need to isolate skills. As much as I'm not pushing the idea that we have to do cast drawing and then we have to do this, we have to do that, we still, there's this huge value that doesn't require that order, but it still requires isolation. So I didn't find any detriment that I was taught no drawing, just color relations, but I really sat on it till I got it. Then I found Gamble, and now I was able to sit on drawing, cast drawing included, until I got it. Now these things, just knowing that they can be thought of as isolated problems, is a big deal. I'm talking about effects. I'm talking about, you guys do Brown studies, to just study the game of effects. It's very efficient and fast. You can usually, in a brown paper, the way I describe a midtone, like a wrapping paper, to set up the spots of light, and the spots are the valued blobs, and then go after the effects one after the other and try to organize your effects with the contrast plus edge data. It's a massive thing to have played with until you're good at it. You totally get it in isolation. Now, we do work with everything together, and these things come up separately, but you need to know whether you're dealing with a chroma problem. Have you played? Do you know what it is to do chroma well? Well, every time you start a painting the way we do it, we ask you to get the color relations to form the color scheme before you do any drawing. We need to know whether you can create the right chromal relations through the whole field, the right hue relations through the whole field, and the right value relations through this whole field of pure data. So that when that problem comes up in painting and you've isolated and you said, oh, I have a values problem, you need to know how to think about values in that isolated way. See what I mean? Just to get the unity of the general impression back, okay? So it's the specificity of problem solving that you need to have in your hand. So it does require, so I think there's great value in making sure you understand when you're first laying in a painting with us, that you're studying values as a system. You're studying chroma. You're studying color as its own system before drawing. And it gives you that fresh chance at it to review and get good at that one thing. You know what I mean? So make yourself master of these isolated points. I'm just saying that as a general background to education, to self-education. The next couple things I'm going to say, the stillness training is a big deal, and you mentioned something that makes me think of this. Self-awareness is a big deal, but getting yourself to quiet your thoughts is a very big deal. I was forced into dealing with it because of situations in my life. I finally found myself doing what I thought was meditation, but actually it was a stillness training. And if you want to know, it was a Roy Masters course. He does a 7-minute course online that you could pick up in a second and find out. If you do exactly what he says, you're going to be stunned. I really honestly believe you're going to be stunned by what you're going to find out about your potential. That the ability to get stillness in the chaos is a big deal, and it starts with you just sitting quietly in a chair and learning how to shut up and stop letting your thoughts run with you, because they're going to run with your painting as well. It's not a minor issue, and it isn't meditation in some guru sense of any word. I don't believe it. I don't buy into any of that. I've never needed any of that, never wanted any of that. So I'm not trying to make anything good or bad out of those. I'm saying this is just stillness training. Can you get to the point where you know how to be still? So you can see, so that while the chaos is all over you, all these different colors and values, it doesn't drive you nuts. You know, you calmly look at the field. You need constantly in our world to take in this frame of stuff and be able to just enjoy while you're enjoying it. See a beauty of this to this to this, and just go, wow, just whoa, look at that. That's the beginning and the end, in a sense, of the Impressionist model. So stillness is a big deal. I won't make more of it than that, but yeah. But you answer your own question, yeah, just keep painting. If you're intent about getting the truth of what's in front of you powerfully expressed, fully expressed, it'll take you through these things just like you're going through them right now. Go through them. If you want to Zoom me, by the way, please feel free. Any of you guys dealing with something in this specific, if you want to show me what you're doing, if you want to talk about some of this stuff, I might be able to communicate better in person than I can do it in a video like this. But Liam, thank you for that question. I really do appreciate it. And I hope this begins to get you into a place where 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 you'll be in charge and won't be terrified and horrified and losing yourself in the chaos and all that sort of stuff. All right. I'm just going to check on your question again. I think I sometimes do that. Painting has been killing me recently, getting stuck in my own head. You get that, right? Get out of your mind. Get out of your mind. Get out of your from behind your ears. Keep it out here. Keep it out here. Everything I talk about is out here. Okay. What you see me do, I don't care what we talk about. I just go to look at pictures, right? And that's why I brought a picture into it today. I just go look at pictures. All the information we ever talk about is there. Keep it in front of your eyes. Let's talk about what's in front of your eyes. Don't put it in your head. I'm repeating myself now. I, easier said than done. Can be quite overwhelming. Yeah, I think I've given you some of the. I mean, all the horses at once doesn't mean that you literally can do that. You don't. You literally are. Bobby Jones is the model. Remember that, right? Bobby Jones, the American golfer from way back in the 30s. He said, when I think about three things, I make a bad shot. When I think about two things, I make a better one. But when I think about one thing, I make a great shot. What you're trying to do when you're trying to isolate the back straggler, figure out what the one thing it is, and be good at that. You can do that one thing, but don't be clever. Don't be doing a thumb. You can't paint a thumb. I laugh. I could paint anything, but I can't paint a thumb or a finger. I can't paint anything at all, but I can paint anything. That's pretty funny. Okay. So those are the best of my thoughts. So ideas about getting out of your head. I tell you what, that one thing, stillness, is probably the one thing. If you can get to stillness, that's going to make a huge difference. It might make a nice difference in your life too. It did for me. You haven't painted enough to know what flatness is, or is there more you can say? All right, that's it. Paint a lot. You said it. All right, Liam. Thank you, and thank you all. Thank you, especially Linda D. That was huge. Nancy D. I hope I didn't say Linda D before. It's Nancy D. Nancy, thank you for your faithful support. We do need it. And for everyone out there, thank you again for liking, sharing, and subscribing. All those things, we need to keep the comments coming. This was a very good one. I really enjoyed talking about this one. I like it when it looks like there's a practical thing in hand. There's maybe a conversation, because if you're mining anything from me, all I really have to offer you is my long experience. And if it's successful, if you look at my work and you think, yeah, some of that, I need some of that, then maybe you want to hear that. So, if you're in the middle of the war, let's talk. Take some counsel. And all right, I think that should do it. All right. So have a great painting week. We'll see you in the next one.